Today's podcast is brought to you by Visa. With the capacity to process over 65,000 transaction messages every second, Visa has been bringing innovations to the way we pay for over 60 years. Imagine a world where, instead of just tapping to pay with Visa, you had to wait for everyone in front of you to cut a check. Everywhere you went. Imagine how much fun it'd be trying to track down your cousin in Milwaukee for league dues. That's why Visa's vision is to be the best way to pay and be paid everywhere so you won't have to. Whatever your goals are, Visa makes paying fast and easy. The only thing left to figure out is, where would you like to be? Visa, everywhere you want to be.
Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in KC taking on the Mahomes-less Chiefs. First quarter, Rodgers with the touch pass to Aaron Jones. It's a 4-yard touchdown. It's 7-0 Packers. Jump ahead to the fourth quarter, tie game. Yeah, tie game. Matt Moore kept him in this. Rodgers scrambling, finds Jamal Williams for the ridiculous 3-yard TD pass. You did that. Green Bay takes the 24-17 lead. Later in the fourth, game tied once again, and once again, Rodgers to Aaron Jones. This one goes for a 67-yard score. Aaron Rodgers finishing with 305 yards, 3 touchdowns. Packers win 31-24. They improve to 7-1. The Chiefs fall to 5-3. Here is Aaron Rodgers after the game.
It's fun. You know, we're having a lot of fun. It's a good locker room. Guys really enjoy each other, and winning is a cure-all, but it's fun when you're winning with the right people. And I think we're winning, doing it the right way, and really enjoying the people who we're able to go to work with.
It's almost as if at the beginning of the season an edict came down that said at every press conference you need to talk about how well you're getting along with everyone, because if that's organic, then it's a big statement towards how well this whole relationship that we talked about in the offseason is working. See, start with you. What stood out to you most in this Packers win over the Chiefs?
It's got to be Aaron Jones and them using him not as a primary runner, but as a receiver out of the backfield. Since week number 4 in the Philadelphia game where Devontae Adams, he gets hurt, Aaron Jones has been the receiver that they have gone to build, take up some of this productivity. And if you had told me that, who's going to do this, I would have named one of 4 other receivers that no one knows them but their relatives. But Aaron Jones, we thought, they have to run the ball now for more ball control. But him as a wide receiver, we hadn't seen this much out of him. And Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur have made the adjustments to make him one of the primary receivers. I mean, he leaves them in targets, receptions, yards, touchdowns since that injury. So for me, that's the most surprising thing on the other side. How good is Green Bay's defense? Without Patrick Mahomes, because they've been a tale of a couple different seasons already. Since the first 3 games, they were very, very good. Last 4 games been mediocre to average. So Green Bay's offense, led by Aaron Jones as their number 1 receiver till they get Devontae Adams back. And that defense, what defense is this? Because I know they spent a lot of money, but the last several games, they look like Green Bay defenses that I've seen before.
So to me, this was the matchup that at the beginning of the year I thought we'd see twice. I thought we'd see it once in the regular season, once in the Super Bowl. And watching this game, that some of the issues for Green Bay's defense notwithstanding, one of these teams looks like a Super Bowl team, and the other, the Patrick Mahomes injury notwithstanding, does not. Green Bay, Chris's point that Aaron Rodgers' ability to get other people involved, his ability to get both running backs involved in the passing game, to get the tight ends involved, to get all of the receivers involved at least a little bit when his security blanket and his best receiver, Devontae Adams, has been out, is a testament to him, and by the way, a testament to Matt LaFleur. If you remember Aaron Rodgers this offseason talking about the difference between LaFleur's offense and Mike McCarthy's without really trying to take a shot at Mike McCarthy. He said, we were just relying on guys to win their matchups rather than scheming guys open. You have seen guys in this first half of the season get schemed open, and Green Bay's defense, while agreed, it does not look like a top 5 defense anymore as did at the beginning of the year. It still, to me, has shown it can rush the passer, it can force turnovers. Kansas City, on the other hand, you know what this reminded me of? a whole lot of Alex Smith Kansas City Chief games where the offense does enough, makes a few plays, you got some speed on the field. Andy Reid at the end of the first half and at the end of the second half makes a couple clock management just miscues that he will never change on. And even in spots where it seems like, well, of course you're going to run the ball there, they don't. And then at the end of the game, 5-minute drive, can you get a stop? Nope. Could you get a stop against Houston? Nope. Like, this is the Chiefs, even when Patrick Mahomes comes back, if they are going to have success in the playoffs, it's not going to be because they get a stop, get the ball back, and score. It's going to be because they have the lead throughout, because they have shown no ability with that linebacking core and that secondary to stop a team on 3 consecutive downs at the end of a game when they're in that 4-minute drive. So the Packers should feel great. The Chiefs almost stole a victory. Not surprising that they didn't, but now all of a sudden some of the same issues that creeped up in Houston and the Indy losses showed up in this game as well.
When you look at this Green Bay Packer team, is it the kind of team where as long as Aaron Rodgers puts a pretty good effort out there, they're going to win? I mean, maybe I know they have some deficiencies and maybe both sides of the ball aren't exactly where you want them to be. Again, Devontae Adams still not back. But as long as number 12 is doing his thing, do you feel like they could go all the way?
No, I think they got a lot of good things going. And how you feel about your teammates and the type of sacrifice you're willing to make for your teammates, that helps determine how good a team's going to be. It's not going to be just X's and O's, but Aaron Rodgers from the beginning, you guys mentioned it, all the changes they made in the offseason, but we can't forget the initial phone call when they hired Matt LaFleur. Aaron was probably like, who is this? And they said, Aaron, don't be part of the problem. So Aaron, I hope he continues to go out of his way to tell people he's having a great time at work, because we know he wasn't having a good time before. He told us we were making it up. So,
but wait, do you believe him? Do you believe he's having a great time right now?
I don't know a lot of guys in the NFL. If you played 8 games and you're 7-1, like, you got championship aspirations. Yeah, you got a pretty good defense. You can run the ball. Everything is not on your shoulders for all 65, 70 plays in the game. Yeah, I'm sure he probably does. I'm sure that he's made some adjustments because he knew that people were going to be looking, but Green Bay's got a good thing going on. I just hope they can continue to build on it, and we need to wait and see how good the defense is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know what he has nothing to be unhappy about. Why would he? I have no reason to believe he's not thrilled. Right now, he's a top 3 MVP candidate. They're a top 3 team in this league. He does not have to be Superman each and every week, even though it seems like each and every week he has at least one Superman play. That touchdown pass we keep showing to the back of the end zone is just a sensational play.
He was throwing that ball away.
You think so?
Absolutely. The running back had stopped his feet in the back of the end zone. Jimmy Graham had come about halfway through the end zone, so he knew he was. He threw it over Jimmy Graham's head. He threw Jimmy Graham a jump ball in the initial Chicago game. But the running back had stopped his feet. Now, he's going to tell you, I was throwing it to the only spot, and the running back changed directions. He's going to take credit for it. But as you watch it in real time, he's throwing that ball away.
Well, throw away or not, just good luck, regardless of that. Since Devontae Adams has gone out, he's thrown 12 touchdown passes, 4 to receivers, 4 different receivers, 2 to tight ends, both to Jimmy Graham, 6 to running backs, 3 to each of their running backs. He has found a way. So we can talk about Aaron Rodgers being happy with Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur also, I'm certain, looks around all these other first-year head coaches. Like, what are they dealing with at quarterback? Vic Fangio, okay, he has Joe Flacco. How's that been for him? Adam Gase, he's got Sam Darnold trying to learn. Zach Taylor's got Andy Dalton. Freddie Kitchens dealing with Baker in year 2 and all those struggles, and I'm just listed a few of them. Aaron's happy, but I'm also certain Matt LaFleur is very happy that he's the only of these first-year head coaches that walked into a situation with a first-ballot all-time great quarterback, and they are playing as such.
All right, time now for Put a Grade on It, sponsored by CarMax. And we're going to stick with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, why not? 305 yards, 3 crucial touchdowns. CC, put a grade on A-Rod's performance last night.
I thought you got to give him an A. I thought from a scheme standpoint, you talked about play calling, both of Aaron Jones' touchdowns. Those are scheme. One is a speed sweep, a touch pass to him. The other one is a screen outside where they get him outflanked on the outside. He makes a remarkable run. Aaron Rodgers driving the car and not taking a bunch of chances, taking care of the football. A.
And doing it under duress. The one thing the Chiefs defense did really well yesterday was pressure the quarterback. He was sacked 5 times, the most he's been sacked in any game this year since week 1. After week 1, he'd only been sacked twice in any game. So, I also give him an A. He was outstanding, and he's nipping at Russell Wilson's heels and getting in that MVP conversation.
Are you ready for what's ahead? You can't always predict the future, but you can game plan for it. Generations of families and businesses have harnessed the power of Pacific to help them reach their unique goals. Whether you need to save money to meet your needs, ensure your family is protected, or make sure you don't run out of money, Pacific Life has a variety of financial solutions that can help. Pacific Life counts more than half of the 100 largest U.S. companies as its clients and has been named one of the 2019 world's most ethical companies by the Ethisphere Institute. Protecting what matters most to people for 150 years and counting, that's the power of Pacific. Ask a financial professional about how Pacific Life can help you game plan for your future, or visit www.pacificlife.com. Let's talk some Eagles now. Philly up in Buffalo taking on the Bills, and Philly would run away with this one quite literally. The Eagles combined for 218 yards on the ground, the most in the Doug Peterson era. To go along with 3 rushing touchdowns, rookie Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard carried the Eagles to a 31-13 win to end their 2-game losing streak. Eagles at 4-4 now. See, how did the Birds get the win?
Well, rushing the football, you talked about in the Doug Peterson era as far as the overall physicality. Doug Peterson, man, he comes from that Andy Reid coaching tree, and they don't coach physicality. They want to throw the football, they want to spread it around, and it's hard to be physical. But that offensive line, you could see in this game against a good Buffalo front, they were getting after it. Now, they got gift wrapped. One of the worst receiving core passing attacks that we have in Buffalo. That's what helped out this defense. But their overall mentality, circle the wagons, everyone come together. Outside, don't listen to the outside voices. Former teammate criticizes them, saying from the top down there's issues there in Philadelphia. So this was a good team win for them. If they were going to have a season, people say, well, they're still very close to Dallas. Yeah, but every once in a while there's teams that win the division, and it's just a matter of how many days before their season ends.
Right, exactly.
This was a good football win. Their 2 best wins this year have been on the road where they had a gut check. And that was on a Thursday night in Green Bay where they ran the ball almost 180 yards rushing. Yesterday's game, over 200 yards rushing. There is a theme. So I hope this team can get that. When they run the ball and they're physical, it gives them a chance. They don't have to rely. And with yesterday's weather going around the league, you couldn't rely on throwing the ball down the field.
And Doug Peterson said after the game that his offensive linemen wanted him to run the ball every single play, and they didn't quite do that, but they did run it 2 out of every 3 plays. And as you guys both said, it led to the single best rushing day since Doug Peterson's been the head coach. This is an outstanding win for Philadelphia. Not just because they got the win, but the margin with which they got the win. This is a Bills team that the Patriots played them up in Buffalo, scored 1 touchdown. Now, they scored 2 touchdowns technically because they had a blocked punt, but the Patriots offense scored 1 touchdown. This was not a game where all of a sudden you're like, well, Kyle Allen threw a pick 6 and they had no. Like, now the Bills offense is not good, but the Bills offense, Kyle Allen had the fumble early that set up. Josh Allen. My apologies. Mm-hmm. Josh Allen had the fumble early that flipped the game a bit when it was 7-3 Buffalo. It all of a sudden became 11-3 Philadelphia shortly after that Josh Allen fumble. But this was the Eagles getting right at midseason and being able to say, okay, we played, if they can convince themselves of this. I don't even know if I believe this. It might just be their secondary is as bad as it was 2 weeks ago. They just played a team that can't pass. However, if they say, hey, we played our worst football of the year already. We had a mini mutiny. We've had all these things going on.
In the middle of this crazy
and we're
stretch.
still, we got 4 wins. How many wins Dallas got? Oh, Dallas got 4 wins? Okay, we can find a way to rally it towards the end of the season, but you guys are both 100% correct. It starts and ends yesterday with Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard combining for 170 yards rushing.
And yet all week we talked about Carson Wentz and what he was going to do and who's the real leader in the locker room and how he's going to get everybody involved. How do you think Carson Wentz played yesterday?
Carson did his job. I mean, but it was easy for him to do his job because the physical presence and how they attacked, how the defense was going to play. Defense created turnovers. I mean, we just criticized the quarterbacks too much. Every team that's not playing up to potential, Cleveland, it's Baker Mayfield. Philadelphia, it's Carson Wentz. Dallas, it's Dak Prescott. All those things can't be true.
So let me ask it a different way. Do you feel any differently about the Eagles after what you saw yesterday?
No, I don't. I know they're a talented football team. When they're focused, all right, they can play to the level of their talent. But no, I believe they're going to be an average team. They're on paper. They have a lot of players, and players that have some years tenured in this league. They're not having good seasons. So when you don't have your best players have good seasons, could they turn it around, go on a little mini run and everything? Yes, but I'm not a believer after yesterday. That defense going against Buffalo's offense in a driving rain and everything? No, it was a gut check time, but this was a team people have picked for the Super Bowl. So now all of a sudden, all this mediocre football play, I'm just supposed to forget? No, I'm not. So, no, they're not over the hump in my book.
So, but what they did do yesterday was stop the bleeding. What they did do yesterday was, after having Minnesota throw all over them, Dallas throw all over them, they played a team that can't throw the ball very well and that has a good defense, and they ran on them.
Yeah, the elements took them out of there. Besides, Buffalo doesn't have a great passing attack. The elements, you weren't going to be able to throw the ball. So, if they didn't play well in this game,
then
in
they're done. That's kind of my point. See, that's why I said they stopped the bleeding. Is I don't think they get this win over Buffalo and you say, okay, this is the Eagles team that people said was going to be 12-4. They're about to go on some great run. But if they had lost this game, it would be the only reason their season wouldn't be over is because of the division that they're in. And by the way, next week, they play the team in the NFL most similar to Buffalo, Chicago. A team with a good defense, a team that can run the ball a bit, and a team who has enormous issues at quarterback. So they might be able to follow the same script. Now, I don't think they're going to be able to run for 220 yards on Chicago, but they might be able to follow a similar script to try to start the second half of their season a hell of a lot better than the first half of their season started.
All right, we got to take a break. All right, moving on to the Panthers and the 49ers. Tevin Coleman went off for 105 rushing yards and 4 total touchdowns, 3 coming in the first half. And the Niners defense showed out once again, finishing with 7 sacks, 3 interceptions, bringing Kyle Allen back down to earth. Niners win big 51-13. They remain undefeated on the season. See, you were on this San Francisco bandwagon before any of us really jumped on. Are these Niners now officially a force to be reckoned with in the NFC?
Well, they play a style that is always in vogue in the league. Physically getting after the quarterback. They have so much talent on the defensive front. You knew ultimately Kyle Shanahan, he would get that offense squared away. But did they have enough talent offensively? Made the trade for Emmanuel Sanders. He comes in, makes an impact immediately after playing in a very, very similar offense. They create the turnovers, and they explode on the team. This is the best win that they've had. This is the only team, even though they did beat the Rams, there was no team that has faced them that's been hot. So it was nice for them to be able to measure themselves because everyone's like, oh, man, Kyle Allen. They shouldn't even put Cam Newton back in there. We'll see what people are saying this week. So it was a good test for them. The one thing going into this contest that I think we missed on was Kyle Shanahan had a lot of experience playing against Carolina's defense when he was in Atlanta. 2015 was his first year there as Atlanta's defensive coordinator. They had success, and he took that in the game plan and took advantage of some tendencies that Carolina team does. But great win for San Francisco. Their quarterback played well enough, but the play calling of Kyle Shanahan, to me, with that defensive front, those are the 2 stories of this game.
And the ability to just continue pressing your advantage. You saw that you had an edge as far as their inability to stop your running game, and they never could adjust, they being Carolina. And San Francisco, up to and including the very end of the first half, Tevin Coleman rips one off for, 48 yards for a touchdown. The Niners ran the ball for 230 yards. They're running the ball this year 39 times per game to go along with just an elite pass rush. They had spent a ton of resources on that defensive line before this offseason. Nicky Bosa might be worth all those resources combined with his true. They've drafted a lot of guys high. He's the first one that, even though he was drafted that high, is overperforming to his draft position. Like the Niners, right? I'm not shocked that they won. I don't think anyone should be shocked that a team with a defense that good beat a backup quarterback. But for them to score 50, For them to dominate this football game the way they did, that to me was shocking, that this was not a competitive game. I thought this would be a close, low-scoring football game. It was anything but.
Nicky Bosa, 4 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 interception. When talking about this, you mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo, and you said Jimmy G played well enough. At some point, if they are going to go the distance, he has to play better than well enough. Or is this defense good enough to carry them?
No, their defense is good enough to carry them. When you can create turnovers, a short field, now, he has plenty of arm strength. They just didn't have the proven weapons on the outside. You'll see this offense grow. Why should the quarterback throw when they're throwing the ball, run the ball 39 times a game? They are taking control of the game. Why adopt some other philosophy? This is the way they're going to win. They do not have elite wide receiver talent. Where is their talent? In their running backs, both of their ability to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield and their speed. George Kittle's second best tight end that we have, and offensive line. That's where their strength is, and that's what they should play to. Jimmy Garoppolo is plenty good enough for this team to go to the Super Bowl, given the rest of the talent and for which the style for which they play.
And just quickly, their best offensive lineman's been out. Their running game's only going to get better when Joe Staley comes back, which should be at this point coming up in the next few weeks. No, the Niners have to feel great. They're not asking Jimmy to do too much. I don't think whether he can or can't hasn't been the issue. They haven't needed him to. You're running the ball down the team's throat like this, you're up by 3 scores.
And their leading receiver was George Kittle for the last
you don't need him to do that much.
All right, on to the other undefeated team in the NFL, and that's the Patriots. They hosted the Browns yesterday, and some had this as the upset pick of the weekend, which could have happened had the Patriots' top-ranked defense not forced 3 turnovers on 3 consecutive snaps for Cleveland. Chubb coughs up 2 fumbles. Baker Mayfield throws a brutal shovel pass for an interception to go along with 5 sacks. Patriots defense scores another touchdown. Long story short, New England wins, Cleveland loses. Pats now 8-0 as Bill Belichick gets his 300th career win. See what was most impressive about the Patriots' victory in this one?
Well, the thing about the Patriots is they do the most boring things, and they don't get bored doing them. Because football's about a bunch of fundamentals. So I could tell you a bunch of plays and everything, but just the basics of football, regardless of what the conditions are, they're going to put the maximum amount of detail to every little single thing. And that's throwing it, that's catching it, that's tackling. And as you can see, the Cleveland Browns, yes, they have a lot of talent on paper, but the details to playing football, they're not that important to them. And you can see mistake after mistake. Veteran players, star players make mistakes. Illegal procedure, lining up offside, formation discrepancy, like so many little things. And to me, New England, it's about the small things. In every single game, they're going to go about being about them. It's like they outclassed Cleveland right from the beginning. The only thing kept Cleveland in this game was the Patriots' bad offense. That's the only single thing that did that. Their defense, they do what they want to do. They're going to crowd the line of scrimmage. They are playing an inordinate amount of 0 and 1 coverage, more than I ever seen Bill Belichick play. And the reason why is because he don't believe people can throw the ball. He has a tremendous amount of confidence in their secondary, which we think by far is the best in the NFL. And he is on the attack every single week. Now, he was aided yesterday by the weather and by Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens, how you going to start the game in a rainstorm?
Pass. Come on. And by the way, it's not like he was then proven.
If anyone else says anything about Belichick coaching or doing another job, I'm going to slap the taste out their mouth. And the reason why is, why would I change my profession? I got these idiots I'm playing against.
It's unbelievable.
Everybody wants him to go do something else. Well, why?
Well, every week, I joked with you before the show. Do teams get hypnotized when they walk into that building? The things that we said on Friday for the Browns to keep it close, because I don't feel badly at all about saying Friday I thought this could be a close game if the Browns didn't turn the ball over, because as C mentioned, this Patriots offense is average. This Patriots passing game is average, and their offensive line is below average.
Even Tom Brady is playing average.
Listen, they had one huge play in the passing game. It was a screen pass on 3rd and 10 that went for 60 yards. Because, God, I mean, who could have thought that a team would go screen pass on 3rd and 10 when they can't block? Of course, they're either doing that or a draw. But you walk into the game, and the first fumble, listen, Nick Chubb needs better ball security. The ball gets kicked out of his hand. It gets kicked by an offensive
No, you got to give New England credit. They smashed the formation. They knew exactly what they were going to run. Kyle Van Noy went up under the guard's legs
and flips him.
Yeah, and made his leg come into the running back.
The point, no, I'll give New England full credit defensively for what they did. My point is, I'm not going to kill Nick Chubb for that. But the next time he touches the ball, I know he's fast. At one point this year, he had the fastest clock time. You know guys are chasing you. If you're watching this game, you're watching it thinking somebody's going to come out and try to punch that ball punched out. And the very next play, Baker does something I've never seen done, which is the reason they do that play right there is because it's so safe. It's like a toss or a handoff, but if it goes to the ground, it's an incomplete pass. It's safe unless, of course, when you see that the D tackle has blown up your guard, you don't just eat it. And so now you're down 17-0. And down 17-0 the Patriots in New England. Good night, good luck. Didn't matter what else they did. Didn't matter how well Nick Chubb was running the ball. Nothing else mattered after this.
Listen, that's not a safe play backed up to the goal line. It's not a safe play and the wind's blowing 20 miles per hour and the wind is hitting you around your midriff. So yes, on paper, yeah, it's a safe play. But you gotta understand downs, distance, situations. I'm not running that play in that game. Everything bad can happen with that play. So the offensive linemen are going to be off late because of the crowd noise. So no, Freddie Kitchens and their game plan was totally idiotic. So, I mean, I just, New England, I told you, Jenna, and I wasn't joking, 14-2, and that's because they're going to give away the last game of the season. They're going to lose one game because no one can be that consistent.
But I would just like it. I'm sorry. I would just love it if we could see a game where they're pushed by a team that has talent on both sides of the ball. They've been pushed once this year by Buffalo. Buffalo's a well-coached team with a great defense. Cleveland clearly had the talent to coach them, but the coaching mismatch was a minute ball Muggsy Bogues situation as far as discrepancy. Maybe Baltimore will do it. Baltimore's well coached. Baltimore's got a solid defense, even if it hasn't played up to its ability, and a running game that can do some things. But I just want to see this Patriots team in a game close late where the other team is not. You mentioned Freddie Kitchens' play calling. His timeout and his challenge management was high schoolish, to say the least.
And it's not just the coaching. The weather affected both teams yesterday. The Browns had 13 penalties. The Patriots had 4. It's the players as well that need to watch what they're doing, play smart football. The coach isn't out there doing that. But speaking of coaching, you have to give a nod to Bill Belichick and what he's done picking up his 300th career win.
Oh, it's amazing. It's unbelievable. I remember Belichick as a defensive coordinator playing against him. I played against him 6 times in Philadelphia. 87, we played him twice. 88, played him twice. We beat him 4 times in a row. We had an amazing game plan going against them. And I can't believe that he would change, as stubborn as he is, how he's changed to being more of an offensive-minded coach, how he's embraced so many. Let's just say do this. Sean McVay, we like him as a coach, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say for the next 25 straight years, he wins 10 games every single year. He still wouldn't be up to 300.
No.
That's how good the guy's been. And it's not lost on me because I do understand that the fundamentals. And it's not even close when we compare who's more important. Robert Kraft got it. He drafted Brady in the 6th round. Sent the 1st round pick for Belichick. And he is getting every bit out of Belichick. Greatest coach that's ever played the game. Special teams, he's a master. We know what he does defensively. And him adopting a more pass-friendly offense. When the league changed, with the rule changes, I mean, as you say, Nick, he is one of one. And to be able to cover his greatness, it's been amazing.
And I'm really glad you mentioned how they got him. When we talk about the single greatest trades in sports history, you hear about the Herschel Walker trade, you hear about how the Lakers got James Worthy. That 1st round pick for Bill Belichick is the single most influential trade in NFL history by far. Is the Herschel Walker trade second? Okay, hey, that led to 3 Super Bowls. This led to 6 and counting, and unlike a player, he can coach for 30 years if he wants to. They are going to we all had them as the 1 seed going into this season, but things can happen. Now I think we all say, no, things can't happen. They're going to be the 1 seed. They're going to sweep the 2010s with buys. They're going to go through the entire decade of being the 1 or the 2 seed every single year. Brady's had MVP years. He's had down-ish years by his standards. They've had great offensive weapons. They've had these offensive weapons. And you mentioned the greatest defensive coach. One last thing. During the broadcast, they were like, they showed Jared Mayo and Belichick's son, and they said, who's calling the defense? Man, I got a feeling who's at least drawing up the defenses. It's that guy right there who is just every year reinvents himself if he needs to and puts his team in the best possible position to win a championship.
Now, if we could just get those sleeves to go all the way down.
He can wear whatever he wants.
Be a fashion icon. Coach, let's talk Carolina Panthers. After winning 4 straight games, quarterback Kyle Allen ran into the buzzsaw that is the 49ers defense. Panthers backup quarterback threw for just 158 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Panthers get blown out 51-13. They fall to 4-3 on the season. After the game, head coach Ron Rivera was asked about the team's quarterback situation.
Cam is still rehabbing. Doesn't have to be a lot of questions either, just so you know that. I'll tell you guys where he is on Monday. I'll tell you where he is on Wednesday. Don't need to ask after that, to be honest with you.
Clearly a very pleasant topic around the Panthers team there. But after what you saw yesterday, does Kyle Allen go back to the bench once Cam Newton is healthy?
No, I don't think that yesterday is an indication of Kyle Allen's performance overall. I mean, they gave up 6.1 yards a carry defensively. They gave up 51 points. There were a lot of things that went wrong for that team yesterday outside of Kyle Allen. And they're in a unique situation where they can take their time on this and really evaluate whether or not he is the answer moving forward, because Cam Newton next year has very little, he doesn't have any guaranteed money, so you're going to pick up, I think, $17 million in the cap if you decide to move on. It gives them a real opportunity to make an informed decision, and they should push this as far into the future as they can, because even if Cam comes back, there's no guarantee that he's back and is going to be able to maintain that status throughout the course of the season. So taking as much time as possible, to me, is the right way to go here.
Okay, so you mentioned they did not lose because of Kyle Allen. That is correct. It's just like a couple of those wins, they didn't win because of Kyle Allen. But the reason this conversation got started was because they had the glistening 4-0 record since Cam got hurt. Kyle Allen, for the first time this season, played an excellent defense, and Kyle Allen looked a lot like we thought, or at least I thought, Kyle Allen would look when he first took over for Cam. Overwhelmed and not yet ready. Now, you're saying if the Panthers are going to essentially punt on this season in order to figure out what they have with Kyle Allen, that would be one path. With a defense that, yesterday notwithstanding, had been playing excellent, with a running back that, including yesterday, continues to play excellent, if and when Cam Newton is healthy, this is his job and should be his job. I don't you don't have to cut Kyle Allen next year. You have to see if Cam's healthy, can he continue the trend he was on the first half of last season? Can he stay healthy before you make what would be the most monumental decision this franchise has made since they drafted Cam Newton, which would be moving on from Cam Newton this offseason. So I've been very consistent on this. Kyle Allen has shown that he's not a disaster, so you don't have to rush Cam back. But if Cam's foot gets close to 100% after dealing with the Liz Frank, then you have to put him back in the lineup and see how he does healthy with this defense and this running game.
I don't think at any point did I say you're punting on the season by keeping that player in the game. Kyle Allen's done a very good job, and the one thing he's done consistently, or the one thing they've done consistently since he's played, is win. And the idea that he was the main reason why they lost yesterday, that's so far from the truth. That whole team played poorly, and I don't think if Cam Newton was in there, he would have had very similar stats, if not worse, with that level of pass rush, coming off the injury. I think it's important for this organization to really understand what they have, and if that means pushing Cam back another week, and another week will give him more opportunity to heal and should give him a better opportunity when he comes back, if he comes back, to be successful.
Yeah, one thing that they can say in this stretch with Kyle Allen is that he was more than just a game manager. You could see that their downfield passing attack, it had improved. He could drive the ball down the field. Yes, were they winning with McCaffrey? Yes. Were they winning with their defense? Yes, they were doing those types of things. But to say yesterday that now, oh, he's just a perennial backup, oh, he's just a street free agent, no. Also leadership. A lot of times we don't like to give younger guys credit for good leadership because typically a quarterback, even though he might be a street free agent, this kid's been a leader no matter where he's been because he's been a quarterback. And sometimes when you take over for a great player like Cam, they become overwhelmed by the situation. He wasn't overwhelmed by the situation. So I think Norv Turner, Scott Turner, they do believe that they do have a good prospect to continue work with. But Cam Newton, when he's healthy, and I don't believe he's going to be healthy this year. I don't know a quarterback yesterday, Rodgers, Breeze, Brady, that would have been good under the type of pressure that San Francisco, and because San Francisco, first quarter, they had 3 possessions. 2 times they scored touchdown. They scored 27 points in the first. Who is going to be effective with that type of rush coming at you and you're behind on the scoreboard, Jenna?
So if Cam Newton is, after this Liz Frank injury, not going to really be 100% healthy for the rest of the season, why even taking a chance? Why take a chance bringing it back if you're going to get a 70% Cam Newton?
What are you saving him for?
Well, you had 4 wins with Kyle Allen, and you're saying he wasn't just a game manager.
Well, he's not as good as Cam Newton. We've seen too much of Cam Newton.
So 100% healthy Kyle Allen is not as good as 70% Cam Newton with what you saw and dealing with that injury?
If Cam is what he was the first 2 weeks of the year, then of course they stick with Kyle Allen. And I don't know if any guy gets to 100%, even if they don't miss a month or 6 weeks.
This is what we need to realize. Cam Newton is not as effective throwing the football. So the equation that you give me, it's going to lean in the favor of Kyle Allen because Cam is not the player. If he's 70%, that means he can't run the way he has. And he changed his throwing motion. This affected his throwing. So the truth of the matter is when you have a Liz Frank issue, it's the middle of the foot sprain. The coach just said it. Cam is not practicing. He's still rehabbing. I don't believe he's going to be healthy this season. And when Cam Newton is healthy, regardless, Josh Allen's dad would tell him Cam Newton's better than him. That's the obvious part. But Cam is not healthy that we can even conversate about it.
And go ahead, Coach.
Well, the other question mark here is, and Chris mentioned it, the change in the throwing motion. We don't even know whether or not that change has really stuck. We don't know whether he comes back, he's going to be able to play in the way that he feels he needs to play to protect himself from a throwing perspective. So that's a question that has to be answered too at some point.
Right, which has got to be answered before you move on from him. You brought up, and I wasn't saying you said they'd be punting on the season. To me, if at 4-3 in the NFC, if you say Kyle Allen's going to take us home with this great defense and good running game, to me, you'd be punting on the season. So I wasn't trying to put those words in your mouth, my opinion on that. But you're absolutely right that Carolina has a massive decision this offseason. Cam would be a very sought-after trade piece. I think they could get a first-round pick for him this offseason, given the teams that need a quarterback, given the fact that his salary for next year is only $20 million, which in today's era is backup quarterback, or not backup quarterback prices, but near backup quarterback prices. So you've got to, if he is close to 100%, put him back in the lineup. And the one thing I disagree with you on, C, is I think Kyle Allen, except for that first game against Arizona, who everyone throws on, had been exactly a game manager. He was under 200 yards passing per game. The best win they had was against Houston, where they scored 16 points. They were a product of Christian McCaffrey rising on the MVP list and that defense being great. My
measure wasn't in numbers. My measure is when I watch him throw the football, when I watch the flight of his ball, when I watch what the coaches call, he can get the ball on parts of the field that journeyman quarterbacks and perennial backup quarterbacks can't get to. So for me, I'm talking about his arm talent. And it takes some stuff inside, stuff that's tangible when you start leading the club, all right? And Carolina wasn't playing that great of football that anybody could have quarterbacked him. I think that, Coach, when you see this, when you see a guy on the field and you see the parts moving, guys like, oh, man, the game's not overwhelming. The game's not too fast for him. And you could see some of the stuff that they were doing, even with the running back, that the quarterback had to have enough talent to be able to orchestrate all those things. So a lot of times when we have an iconic quarterback like Cam, sometime when it comes who's going to replace him, we get caught in all these things. Kyle Allen has done a tremendous job He got a $3,000 signing bonus draft day to come to Carolina. And to win 4 NFL games, facing the type of pressure, I think he's done a tremendous job based on what they thought the prospect would be, Coach.
Yeah, and what stands out to me is you don't hear any of the players or the coaches saying, of course when Cam's back, he's going to be back in, or how much they miss Cam. It's their silence to me speaks volumes in terms of the feeling in the locker room. And maybe I'm stretching it here, but it's just there's not a lot pushing to get him back in quickly.
Coach, we were joking earlier that Aaron Rodgers, every time there's a microphone in front of his face, making a comment about how well everybody's getting along, whether they're getting along and it's organically feeling that way, or he's been sort of pressured to make sure that that's the message that gets out. What stood out to you in this game?
Well, we always talk about the Mae West rule, where if you have to tell someone you're a lady, then you're not. So if you had to keep telling everybody how it's...
You guys are unbelievable with Rodgers. It's unbelievable. He can do no right.
No, that's...
They're playing great. He's playing great. He's saying everything is going...
I wasn't mocking.
He's saying everything is going great,
comment on
and that is not good.
No, I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm happy that everything's going great.
He's changed his interview, though, Nick.
But wasn't that something that everyone said he needs to? That he needs to be more supportive of LaFleur? That he needs to make it clear that...
People just wonder, is it genuine now? Because which one is it? Was it the one before? Because before, he told us he was happy. Now he's saying the locker room is great. Everything is great. I'm not the one who told him when they hired the youngest coach. I'm not the one who told him not be a problem. I knew Aaron Rodgers was a problem because I know people that work with him. He can't fool me. So what Coach is saying, go ahead, Coach.
I just think that you don't have to constantly tell everybody how great it is. It's sometimes guys who get married, a second time always tell you how great their second wife is, or how great this situation is, or how great that situation is. And you get to the point where, why do you have to keep telling me that? Are you convincing yourself, or are you telling me because that's sincerely where it is, and you just take it with a little bit of a grain of salt? And Cris is right. There's been a track record of the other way. So now, as you look at it collectively, what's the truth?
Well, I guess if I were someone who had been constantly criticized for something, whether I thought it was fair or not, and I had an opportunity to try to show that I have changed or the situation has changed, I would take those opportunities. Aaron Rodgers, in the first game of the year, what does he say? We've got a defense. Shortly thereafter, he starts complimenting LaFleur. In this game, he talks about in the post game on the field. They're interviewing him. He says it was all Aaron Jones. Then he goes to the podium and he talks about the coach. Meanwhile, he's playing like vintage Aaron Rodgers again. He could be self-promoting. He's a guy who I think understands his own greatness and has understood it for a while now. He could be trying to use those moments to remind people how good he still is, remind where he is in the MVP discussion. Instead, he's saying the things that you would want him to say, but because maybe fairly he is viewed with some skepticism, there is nothing that he can say, I think, that for some people is going to please him. The Packers right now look like the best team in football. He is playing great. They are not living just off their defense that were early in the year. The defense, to Chris's point, has come back a bit. They're doing it without Davante Adams. They went into Arrowhead, I know, with a backup quarterback, and won that football game after getting a little bit of a stomach punch where they trailed when it was unexpected at halftime. If this isn't enough to say, man, Aaron Rodgers, bravo, then nothing is.
Well, this is the thing. I've done too many interviews. I've been the voice of a franchise. And I've been on teams that were 7-1. And I know that winning in this league, it cures a lot of things. And a lot of times I knew when I had the microphone, it was a chance to deliver a message. And that's what Aaron is doing. You can't conduct your interviews one way, and then now all of a sudden in Kansas City, the reason why we won in Kansas City, who don't have Patrick Mahomes, is it's a great locker room. Really? The locker room won on the road in Kansas City? They got 3 defensive starters out? That's how you won? I just thought that it was strange to be talking about that in that situation. Anytime you win in the league, it is a good win. You pack your bags and you move on to the next one. Aaron is going out of his way to try to make this work. Aaron is making adjustments. That's what I would applaud. That's the reason why his sound bites are different, because he has changed. I'm not holding that against him. I'm just calling it for what it is. I'm not trying to say that it's bad. I'm saying exactly what it is. He's going out of his way to be able to make those adjustments. He's doing a good job as far as leadership, but he's been the only constant in the locker room. So when it was bad, you were in there, Aaron. Why didn't you fix it? All right, since it's so great now, you're still in there. But the organization did warn you not to be a problem. And if the organization thought that, I'm sure there were players, and I've talked to players that thought Aaron Rodgers was part of the problem in Green Bay.
All right, let's get to the game last night. How did Aaron Rodgers play last night? What did you see?
Look, Aaron Rodgers is special, and to be a rookie head coach and have Aaron Rodgers, and with all the challenges that he presents from a gaining legitimacy standpoint for a young head coach, he does things that are incredible. The pass that he had off his back foot to was it Williams, right?
In the back of the end zone?
Yes. Just amazing. It was
to get enough on it.
It was. I thought it was getting thrown away too at the time, and where he placed it. But he made a ton of plays like that yesterday. And you got a guy like Allen Lazard. He is a force multiplier. Allen Lazard, who's a rookie free agent last year, who now has 5 receptions in this game. I think he had the most receptions of anybody, or definitely any of the wide receivers. He's working with a young wide receiver group. He carried the ball. We ran the ball 5 times yesterday, or 6 times, which is 3 more than his average. And he was actually running to get first downs. Things like that are just impressive and give the team an opportunity that so many other teams don't have. Who don't have quarterbacks like him.
Yeah, to me, the most impressive thing is he's not trying to do too much. He realized we got good special teams, got a good solid kicker. The defense has improved. I'm not going to try to play a riskier game because Aaron's always played very, very conservative, but he's doing the right thing. You can see that this offense, you had pointed this out earlier, this offense was more Aaron Rodgers than anything that we have seen with Matt LaFleur. So he was very, very comfortable. But when you face adversity, his leadership's been very, very good. So for me, playing conservative, to me, Aaron Rodgers, that's a huge buy-in to everything that they're doing, and that's part of their overall success.
And the genesis of Coach's comment, or Coach's catchphrase, if you will, the force multiplier, is when we talk about quarterbacks and quarterbacks who we hear, well, he can't be blamed because he doesn't have this guy and he doesn't have that guy. And Coach says the force multipliers are guys that can lose a Davante Adams and say, all right, we will find a new way to make it work. I will start focusing on the running backs. Allen Lazard, out of nowhere. He's another 6'5" street free agent or late drafted guy in Green Bay. I will figure out that he's the one I can trust more than these other guys. That is exactly what he's doing. And to me, with respect to San Francisco, the 2 best teams in the NFC, the Packers and the Saints, they both suffered an injury. Obviously, the Saints more substantial, but to a key player. And it appears they both are better off because of it. The Saints found different ways to win, showed their defense can win a game where their offense doesn't even get to 14. And the Packers, Rodgers could not just rely on Davante Adams. And now when he comes back, there's going to be other people in that receiving group that know they can make an impact. And when the defense especially has to account for Davante.
We're going to have to start throwing the Niners into the group of best teams in the NFC as well. Texans hosting the Raiders. Pick this one up in the second quarter. J.J. Watt tackles Josh Jacobs in the backfield for a loss, but the bigger loss was for Watt. He'd leave the game and later tweet out that his season is over with a torn pec. But Deshaun Watson would use that as motivation. Fourth quarter, Houston down 4. Watch. Watson breaks a tackle to find Darren Fells for the go-ahead touchdown. Deshaun is injured on the play, but check out the replay. Watson gets kicked in the face, still gets up, adjusts his face mask, somehow still manages to throw the one-eye touchdown. Texans hold on to win 27-24. They're now 5-3 on the year. Man, Watson was impressive. What'd you see from Deshaun yesterday, CC?
Well, I'm glad I got 2 eyes. That was amazing. I always worry about his overall health. Even though they did trade for Laramie Tunsil, that offensive line, they've been giving him more protection the last several weeks, but where he has to run with the football. He gets contacted too much, several sacks in yesterday's game. Great job by him being able to avoid the sack. Nick, you mentioned a couple weeks ago, he got caught and they stopped the play, a very, very similar play. I thought in the other play, they had him more secure, and there were a couple guys around him compared to one guy yesterday. But it talks about what Dabo Swinney said. When he compared him to Michael Jordan and Dabo, people laughed at Dabo Swinney for saying that. You could start to see some of these traits in Deshaun, what he does. He's a great leader. He's got a great deal of respect in the locker room, but he is a baller. Like, he makes plays in the pocket, can make plays out of the pocket, and I think that he's underrated as a passer. When they came out with the top passing, Pro Football Focus, before the season, and I know we got more throwers than ever, I believe as a quarterback, he doesn't get the type of credit that we should give a guy who's a dual threat, but is trying to play from the pocket and has done that in his career under more duress than anyone over that same period of time.
He checks every single box that a franchise superstar quarterback needs to check. He wins games. He's an unquestioned leader. He has an as good of a collegiate pedigree as one can have, short of winning the Heisman Trophy, and maybe he should have won a Heisman Trophy. He is doing it without the best talent or coaching staff around him. There are 28 quarterbacks in the league that lose this game yesterday. He's one of the few that can win it. The Texans didn't play no great game. They lost J.J. Watt for the season due to injury. This is going to be the third out of his last 4 seasons where he's unable to complete more than half the games due to injury. Laramie Tunsil, who they way overpaid for because they had butchered their offensive line management so badly going into the year, he gets injured. They were on their third different right tackle. They were on their backup left tackle. And Deshaun's out there doing pirouettes for game-winning touchdowns with one eye blinded. I would be shocked if he doesn't win a league MVP at some point in his career. I would be shocked if he is not a 10-year star quarterback as long as he can stay healthy, which, given that he's had a couple knee injuries from college and then to the pros, and given how he is constantly having to do this. There's now 3. I mentioned the play against Indy where he got caught in the grasp. It also happened to him last year on a touchdown pass where he got caught in the grasp. It's a little indicative. We can think of 3 times he was either caught in the grasp or close to it on critical touchdown plays because he is always running for his life.
Well, that's just it. And I talked to you about this morning, CC, that I actually get nervous and I kind of half watch when Deshaun Watson's out there playing, because what do you know about Deshaun Watson? He hurt himself in practice. He had to take a bus because he couldn't fly because he had pulmonary issues. It's not that he's fragile, but you worry so much that the entirety of this team's success is based on how healthy Deshaun Watson is. It's like they put all their eggs in this bucket, and now with Watt out and Laramie Tunsil injured, you worry that really a season that could have had so much promise is now sort of teetering because you worry about Deshaun Watson.
It's not as if you're putting all your eggs in one basket. He's your quarterback. He's going to be the quarterback of this franchise for a long, long time. The question is, can we support him enough that we get the best out of his ability? And the best of ability is availability. So now they make the big trade. You have to spend more to be able to protect your investment. He is a Bentley. You need super duper insurance, and you need an umbrella policy. That's just in case someone gets crazy and try to sue you for an exorbitant amount of money. But you have to be able to protect him. But also, he's got to realize, as a franchise quarterback, he's going to have to run a little bit less as he gets older. He's already had 2 knee injuries. So the next one, number 3, and then how's he going to recover from that? So part of responsibility is Houston, and they're trying to do their part. He's got weapons on the outside. He's got running backs. He's got a left tackle now, a franchise left tackle. But you, as you get older, you have to know what your responsibility is to the franchise, and he's got to be able to assume that, take less risk. So they're working hand in hand, him and Bill O'Brien, of how he's going to continue to develop.
And I know a lot of people defended the Tunsil trade because you've got to protect your Bentley, so to speak. You can't let him just get beat up repeatedly. But the same day they made that trade, they traded away Jadeveon Clowney for pennies on the dollar because of a contract dispute. With J.J. Watt now out for the year, I'm guessing they wish they had. If they think they can win right now, which all their moves, they just traded a 3rd-round pick last week for Garyon Conley. All their moves are win right now. I bet they wish they had Clowney back.
Time now for drawing a blank. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers taking care of the Chiefs 31-24 last night. No surprise with Patrick Mahomes on the sideline, but Sunday had plenty of unexpected outcomes. Nick, the most surprising win Sunday was blank.
the 49ers, not because I didn't think they'd win. I thought they were 5-point favorites, I believe. I expected them to win 17-10. Maybe 21-14. For them to drop a 50-piece and to just annihilate Carolina the way they did, that was shocking to me. That was the game that while I was watching, I was most surprised. Even if the winner didn't surprise me, the way they won, to me, was shocking.
Yeah, you have to say that. The Eagles in Buffalo, because we have a lot of respect for the 49ers and Buffalo. Wanted to see them against better teams, but didn't think the Eagles would blow out the Buffalo Bills. This was a one-sided game. How they rushed the ball for over 200 yards, that was totally surprising to me. Doug Peterson allowing this offensive line to be more physical than they've been, except one game, and that was the Thursday night game against Green Bay. Outstanding.
And Chris, and now when you mentioned the weather earlier, but I would have thought the weather that Buffalo would want to play in bad conditions, muck it up game, and they just got blown off the ball.
All right, from the good to the bad, some thought the Browns could upset the Patriots this weekend. That was not the case, with Cleveland turning the ball over 3 times on 3 straight snaps and losing 27-13. Chris Carter, the most disappointing loss Sunday was blank.
I got to say the Bears, because also on the pick 6, I'm going to have a perfect clean sheet. If the field goal kicker, super 6, that too.
Yeah, I got
So if I get that kick, losing a late game at home on a field goal, knowing that, Nick, you were disappointed that the coach didn't run a play late in the game to get it even closer, but that's the reason why you have that field goal kicker. Lose a playoffs game, field goal kicker, thought they had those kicking woes resolved. No, bad loss by the Bears.
The Bears is a great answer, and Matt Nagy after the game being all standoffish, I didn't even think about running a play. What? 42 seconds, one timeout, 41-yarder at Soldier Field with Eddie Pinheiro. That ain't no gimme. Too often coaches just don't want it to be. You can't blame me. You got to blame the kicker. That was terrible. I'm going to go with the Raiders because of what the opportunity that was missed for them. They're leading in that fourth quarter. They could have, the Chiefs are 5-3. They could have gotten to 4-3. They'd be very alive in that wild card spot.
Chiefs got the Vikings this week.
The Raiders could have been right there, not only for a wild card, but for the division. Instead, a game I thought they controlled.
Yes.
They end up letting Deshaun Watson come in. Absolutely. They let them come and steal it, so I'm going to say Oakland.
All right, Aaron Rodgers throwing for 305 yards and 3 touchdowns in the Packers win over the Chiefs yesterday. A-Rod adding to his MVP caliber season, but CC will let you decide the best quarterback performance on Sunday was blank.
Drew Brees, he was amazing.
Ooh.
After missing the type of time that he's missed, having surgery on his thumb, he comes back and dissects the Cardinals' defense. At the beginning of the game, you were like, I wonder if he's still got his fastball with him. But it didn't take him long, Nick, to be able to find it. Drew Brees, outstanding yesterday.
Drew Brees, great answer. I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson, not only because he was the Texans' most effective rusher, not only because he had another 3-touchdown game with a quarterback rating north of 115, but this play alone, man, does a pirouette, gets kicked in the eye, one-eyed, adjusts the face mask. That's the game-winning touchdown right there. It's a spectacular play by a guy who's going to win league MVP one day, Deshaun Watson.
All right, let us spread the love to some non-quarterbacks. Eagles running back Jordan Howard and rookie Miles Sanders carried Philly to a 31-13 win over Buffalo, combining for 229 total yards and 2 scores. Nick, the best non-quarterback performance on Sunday was blank.
Oh, this was tough for me. At first, I want to go Cooper Kupp, but it happened overseas, happened against the Bengals, so the exchange rate on that crosses you down a bit.
Can't do that.
So I'm going to go Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, 5 yards per carry running the football, $160 catching the football. He was spectacular. That right there could have been another huge one, but he stepped out of bounds right there. It was still a great play. Took a little screen pass, 60 yards for a touchdown. Aaron Jones was the best player on the field, non-quarterbacks yesterday in the Sunday night game.
Aaron was special, but I'm going to go with Nicky Bosa, the rookie from Ohio State. Big-time draft pick, top 5 draft pick. Very seldom you're going to have the productivity he's had. 7 games, 7 sacks, has the interception here. He's been phenomenal after missing most of training camp. People have had the conversations with me, who's better, Nicky or Joey? I believe Nicky has more versatility, and he misses less sack tackles than Joey does. Joey's a little taller, has a little longer arms, but Nicky can play better at defensive tackle and defensive end. So Nick Bosa, man, was outstanding in yesterday's game, and he will be in the conversation for league defensive MVP because they're going to win a lot of games for the 49ers.
All right, good stuff. Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.